One of the most powerful leadership lessons I ever learned came from a high school bulletin board and from my friend named D. Now, I'm a boarding school kid, and in the library of our boarding school, there were these large bulletin boards. And this experience many years ago with my friend D, it highlights the importance, the need, the impact of self-affirmation. And in order to lead effectively, this is a skill that you need to practice consistently. The ability to affirm yourself. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why this is so important. Because and you've experienced this already. There are moments, maybe when you first join an organization, there are moments where you're well received. It's the honeymoon period. It's the kickoff. There are all of these good feelings going around in many cases. And then comes the point where the honeymoon period wears off. And it's usually connected to making a decision that doesn't go over well with an influential group of people. That's when the honeymoon dissipates and those well wishes, those words of encouragement and support and even validation, the applause, it dissipates because it has to fight against the complaints when people don't like the decision that you made. And that's just one of the realities of being in a leadership role. Oh, in my high school many years ago, as I mentioned before, there were these very large bulletin boards. And one of the bulletin boards in the library, it was designated. I don't even know where the name came from, but it was designated as the warm fuzzy board. And on the warm fuzzy board, people would write notes. You got to understand, this is in the late 90s. I graduated in 1999. So this is the late 90s, this late 90s experience before social media was really a thing. I remember there was one email address for the school that you could use. And when you got emails, they printed them out in the computer lab and stuck them to the bulletin board so that everybody could read it. It was just a different time back then. And on the warm fuzzy board, you could write these notes. This is before we had DMs or a thing. You could grab a sheet of paper, and they kept tons of paper around, and you would write a note, and you would pin it to the board. And you would write a note, maybe it was an encouragement note, or maybe it was a love note for your significant other, your high school sweetheart. Or maybe it was a connection note. You wanted to get to know someone, or you liked someone and you wanted this low risk way to be able to connect with them. And can you imagine coming into the library every day, seeing all the notes that had your name on it? And some people got a lot of notes. Some people, not so much. And there were some individuals, sadly enough, that didn't get any notes at all. We were in the library on this day, just hanging out. The library was the hangout spot. And we would all gather at different parts of the day, early in the day or after lunch or right before the library closed for the day. And we would stand at the warm fuzzy board and everybody would collect their notes. They would stack them together. Or if people saw that your name was on multiple notes, they would just bring all the notes together and put them under one push pin, and you would come in and get all your notes and just read through them. So hanging out with D and all my other friends that day, we're standing at the warm fuzzy board, and D is looking around, and there are no notes for her. And this was a day where you needed a note. You needed, this was on one of those days where I could tell D could have really benefited from a note of encouragement or love or connection. And there wasn't anything there for her. We're looking around, the rest of us in the group, and we're reading through our notes, responding, writing our own notes. And we watched D do something. D grabbed a note, a blank note card. And D sat down at the table. She wrote a note, folded it in half, wrote her own name on it, grabbed a push pin, and D stuck that note to the bulletin board. Then D sat down. She waited a few moments, went back to the bulletin board, removed the push pin that was holding the note with her name that she wrote to herself, looked at it, smiled, and she put it in her pocket. And that small moment, many, many years ago, taught me a very big lesson in life and in leadership. That you will have moments in your experience, you will have moments on your leadership journey where those words of encouragement, of affirmation, of support, they just won't be there at all. And those are the moments where you need to leverage the ability to say some words of affirmation, of support, of encouragement to yourself. Now, research supports this idea. And researchers have found that individuals that practice self-affirmation, that practice specifically positive self-talk, they experience both the short-term and long-term benefits of well-being, simply based on the words that they say to themselves. So ask yourself, when's the last time you had a really tough day? It was one of those frustrating days, those overwhelming days, those days that you felt down, and you could have used a phone call or a text message or a DM. You could have used someone sending you a funny meme or a funny video. You really wanted someone else to reach out to you. No one really knew what you were going through. No one knew the difficult day that you had. Maybe you botched the presentation. Maybe the one-on-one didn't go really well. Maybe that promotion or opportunity that you were looking for just didn't happen. And it was a really, really tough day. And you needed that note. You needed that encouragement. You needed that affirmation. But it didn't come from anyone else. Because encouragement doesn't always show up. Encouragement doesn't always hop into your DMs or show up in your text messages. It's not always found in an email from someone else. Now remember that sometimes the note that you need is the note that you write for yourself. So think about the week that you're having. Think about the month that you're having. Think about the quarter that you're having. Think about the year that you're having. And think about the words of encouragement that you really need to hear in your leadership role and the responsibilities that you carry and the challenges that you're navigating and the opportunities that are on the horizon. What are the things that you need to hear so that you can leverage both immediate and long-term well-being and have the ability to keep going? And if I handed you a blank note card, if I handed you a piece of flip chart paper, if I handed you a poster board and a collection of markers and challenged you to write a note of affirmation, of support, of love, of connection to yourself, what would you write and what difference could it make?